What's going on, everyone? Designedcoma here. Welcome back. And the gameplay you're watching is me playing some Black Ops 3. So, what's up for today's video? Well, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of another YouTuber's channel that I watch on a regular basis. His name is Iris and Jen, and I will have a link to his channel and the link to the video that he did that I'm speaking of. And it has to do with another video that he watched on somebody who was basically bashing on the military. Now, there's a lot of points that Iris makes in his video about camaraderie. There's a certain type of brotherhood that you gain when you're in the military, and that is all true. To this day, even though I no longer serve physically or in terms of uniform-wise and things like that, in my mind, I am still serving my country, regardless of me having my uniform on or not. It never goes away. And people that are in the service completely understand and know where I'm coming from. You never lose it. It's instilled in you. It's just a part of you. It becomes a lifelong part of you when it comes to serving in the military. Now, a lot of this camaraderie comes from the basic training. And this one guy, basically, he had what he said was a horrible experience. Now, I can tell you right now, basic training for everybody is going to be a horrible experience because it's hard. It's not easy. It was never meant to be easy. Nobody ever said, hey, come join one of the 4 branches of the military. Basic training is super easy. It never came out like that. There's no way. Anybody who ever thought that basic training would be simple is crazy. Now, my basic training experience was tough. It was. It was supposed to be. It was meant to be, because they have to prepare you for what could be the possible outcome during your career in the military. You could end up in a war at any point in time. And you have to know how to be a soldier. You have to know how to do these things. And that's the whole purpose of basic training. Yes, they do kind of beat you down a bit. Not so much physically, but they do mentally beat you down. The physical side of things is just it's all the exercise. It's the field training and all of those things. And living out in the woods for a little while and that kind of stuff. That's where the physical side of things are. Now, in my experience during basic training, we had one guy who was basically kind of like this other guy that Iris is speaking about. He decided, you know what, the military just isn't for me. And I can tell you right now, the military is not for everybody. You really have to ask all the right questions before joining any of the services and really get the answers. You really have to look into it and research it and understand it and know that basic training is going to be hard. And this guy, it was, I don't know how many weeks into basic. I think it might have been 3 weeks in or 4 weeks in. Maybe it was around halfway in. He decides, you know what, I am deciding that I'm a conscientious objector. And what that is this is the person who decides that I don't believe in shooting people with rifles and things of that nature and war and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just against it completely and totally. I'm not going to do anything in regards to this aspect. I'm not going to train anymore, and that's kind of the way it was. Now, the thing is when it comes to one person within a platoon, it affects everybody else. Anything that one person does, in most cases, the entire platoon is going to suffer for that person's consequences. And there's a reason for that. This is where the camaraderie and teamwork comes into play. If there's one person who cannot function, the whole team does suffer. It's no different for a basketball team. It's no different for a baseball team or football team. If there's one person in there that cannot keep it together, then yes, everybody else suffers. So more importantly, we would all have to suffer some consequences of whatever it was he did. Now, eventually it got to the point where he was just off on his own, and we didn't have to obviously do a whole ton of push-ups for this guy anymore, because it was getting a little bit crazy. It was just getting crazy around the platoon, and the drill sergeant just knew this. Now, we had a female drill sergeant. Her name was Drill Sergeant Gillette, and she, to this day, I can tell you right now, is one of the toughest women I ever met in my life. And basic training was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. Not the only hardest, but one of the hardest things. There's lots of things that I have done that are difficult, like running a full marathon. I mean, that was one of the hardest things I've done in my life. So what it really comes down to this is I had a really good experience. I was stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. My basic training was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't really get to see much of South Carolina because I was too busy being, trained to be a soldier in the Army. Then I did my training for turbine generators that I was going to be working on in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And Virginia was great. I mean, I got to travel to D.C. every now and then. I could go to DC just about every weekend because the subway system was right there. It was close, just a taxi drive away, and I was there. And I was on my way to DC. I mean, I can tell you right now, I didn't get to see a whole lot of the world because I was medically discharged for a motorcycle accident. I mean, I'm not broken in half or anything, but it was to the point where my femur was busted and I was medically discharged, and it was all honorable and everything. And it devastated me because I lost something that I really loved and believed in, but it's never really gone. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier in the video, that the camaraderie is there, the brotherhood never goes away. It literally never goes away. It's always going to be there, at least till the day I die. So when it really comes to the military, everybody's going to have different experiences, but like Iris in his video, he was in the Navy, so he got to see a lot of the world. I got to see a little bit of the States. I almost had a great opportunity to go to Germany. Unfortunately, things changed and they decided they weren't going to send our unit to Germany again or anymore. They weren't going to send us there anymore. So yeah, I kind of missed out on that, and I was a little bit bummed about that, but to be honest with you, I loved every minute I had in the service. It was just a really great experience. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit something different. I'm just kind of talking about some of my experience, and I can honestly do an hour-long video on my experiences in the service, so I tried to keep this as short as possible. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, and go check out Iris's channel. Everything will be down in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.